what is cOAlition S and what is Plan S, and why do you believe that these are necessary institutions and plans in the larger open access movement?
cOAlition S, as you know, is an alliance of 25 research organizations all over the world, mostly research funding organizations, but also some research performing organizations, who have decided that they would use their funding as leverage to move the academic publishing system from the subscription system to open access, mostly out of a sense of frustration, because we've been talking about open access for 25 years, and they don't think it's going fast enough, and they think these organizations think that together they might move the needle on this by using their collective funding as leverage and by adopting common policies that have been formulated in Plan S to move things along, and to make sure that journals transition from subscription to open access. Organizations include various national funders in Europe, but not only, also the European Commission. So all, for instance, all grants that are part of the Horizon Europe framework, which will start in April next year. All of those grants will be under Plan S rules. We also have 5 important charitable foundations on board. So Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Wellcome Trust, and a few others, but also the World Health Organization. We have representatives also from South Africa Medical Council and from African Academy of Sciences. So it's really a worldwide alliance. And of course, we would like to have more organizations on board, also organizations from India, to help us reach our goal, because we do realize that although we have few organizations from lower and middle income countries and from the Southern Hemisphere, we would like to have many more. One of the basic principles of Plan S is actually really simple. The idea is that research results are a public good and should be immediately and openly available for other people to improve upon, and so as to accelerate science. That means that we don't want embargoes of 6 to 12 months. That is quite evident, I think, in the current context of the COVID-19 situation. I think nobody can imagine that we would have had a vaccine today had those research results been behind a paywall for 6 months. That is, if you look back on that, the embargoes really look ridiculous these days, so embargoes must go. So no more paywall publications, no embargoes, no transfer of copyright. Intellectual property should remain with the author. We also want transparency of pricing. We want transparent pricing because we find that the prices that are being charged now are completely opaque for the services. Not only do we want transparent pricing, but one of the things that we are going to focus on next year is also equitable pricing. Namely, how do we make sure that everybody all over the world participates in an equitable manner to the paying for the price of academic publishing. Finally, one of the principles we also have is to change the rewards and incentive system for researchers, because there we have noticed, of course, that a lot of the current system and a lot of the current pricing is based on prestige factors, impact factor, quantitative metrics, and so on and so forth. And we want to change that. We want to, the funders have committed to making sure that the way in which their grants are evaluated will be on the basis of the intrinsic merit of the publications rather than on quantitative metrics, impact factor, and prestige, because that's basically the cornerstone of the current situation. Once you remove that and you tell researchers quite explicitly as a funder that it doesn't matter where they're published, that all that matters is the quality of what they publish, you really are changing the fundamental assumptions of the academic publishing system as we know it.
That's super interesting, Professor. And also because this question of what choice do researchers make heavily impacts, like you said, lower and middle income countries like India and the rest of the developing world. Because a European researcher to publish in a high prestige journal, that cost is going to be lesser as compared to what an Indian researcher might have to give
Yes.
out.
But that is why we really need to move towards a much more equitable system, because right now the system that exists is a bit odd, right? I mean, you have that fixed APC that is the same the world over, and then you have a system of waivers. But waivers are a very strange instrument. First of all, it's not stable across publishers. I mean, for some publishers, Indian researchers will receive a waiver, and for others, they will not. I mean, so go figure as a researcher, right? I mean, how do you have to know? You have to find it on the site. So that is one problem. Secondly, those prices will a waiver is something that feels very neo-colonial. It has been criticized for that reason, because who wants to receive a handout, right? I mean, that is like, oh, you're from India, you can publish for free. Well, maybe I don't want to publish for free. I want to be taken seriously as a researcher. So, what would be much more equitable, of course, is for an Indian researchers to contribute what an Indian researcher can contribute as a function of purchasing power. If you look at median income and you look at the median APC, right, and you spend this income, let's say, just on APCs, right? So median APC is like 2,200 euros, and then you do median income per country. Then an African researcher can publish 2 articles for every 24 articles that can be published by a wealthy Asian researcher. So the factor is 1 to 12. With Europe and America at respectively 10 and 11. South America is at 3, right? Probably India is also somewhere there, right? 2 or 3. I mean, I didn't know this. I didn't see the figures for India. Eastern Europe is at 5. If you look at those differentials, you realize, that this is not tenable. I mean, you can't keep a single payment system. I mean, you have to devise something else. You have to devise like something that is used in the medical field, medication, right? Medication is also priced differently. I mean, you are not paying the same price for aspirin that I do, and that's a good thing.
How, in your perspective, as organizations were really pushing for the open access movement, how do you see this movement taking place in India? How do you see the relations sort of developing in India? And what is the kind of reactions that you've gotten from Indian researchers, organizations, or even the government?
Well, I mean, when I speak to individual researchers and even people who are in charge of big organizations in India, I mean, everybody is very much in favor. So the issue is not about open access per se. I mean, I think if everybody agrees that open access has to happen. What I do find is that things move very slowly. It takes a long time for decisions to be made. And my perception, but this is my honest perception, is that there is some hesitation, that it's not very clear where things are headed. I mean, like I said in the beginning, there was a strong interest in Plan S, and so much so even that people thought that India had joined Plan S and cOAlition S, which was not the case. I mean, the interest was strong. And then there was a bit of a withdrawal where that was last year, where the signal was, well, we are going to concentrate on green open access, which was not in contradiction with cOAlition S or Plan S. And now we see this year, the message was, we are going to negotiate deals with the big publishers so that all people in India can also read. I mean, none of these things have been concluded in a way. So that is a little bit what strikes me. At the same time, I think India has an enormous potential. It's one of the, if you look at the number of graduates in India, the people who could contribute and write and publish, that potential is enormous. I mean, it's one of the biggest in the world. To wait longer would be really
right.
A very bad thing. We need that contribution of Indian scientists to world knowledge.